another blitz. Hurts takes it right up the gut. Touchdown Eagles. Here's the deep ball. Got hit as he let it go. Oh, Devontae Smith. What a catch. From 54 for the win. On the way. It is there. And the Eagles remain unbeaten.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Flyin Style Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, none other than Steven Maslij.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Happy to be back. Finally got started this year, right before the season, and I'm excited to be here, Matt. Football's right around the corner, finally.
Yes, sir. Just in time for football season. Sorry we weren't around for any, summer talk this year. We've both been going through some big moves. I just moved into a new place. Steven's in the process of moving into a new place. We're both getting into our adult lives, and things are a little busy, but we're back and excited for this football season. And the Eagles have had a busy summer. To sum up some of the little things, obviously, I think we've had a few episodes in the summer talking about the acquisition of Saquon Barkley, talking about some of the preseason. Who else am I forgetting? Bryce Huff,
CJ again.
CJ back. I think we're all pretty much, I would imagine you guys are all caught up on everything in that regard. So, with the season coming right around the corner, let's just hop right into the nitty gritty. Let's have a quick talk about preseason, and then we're going to move into our schedule predictions and what we expect from the Eagles this season. So getting started, let's just hear your opening thoughts about preseason so far.
Dude, preseason, I was not surprised that the starting offense didn't play at all. I knew Saquon would not touch the field in the slightest. AJ, obviously not. A lot of people, they got kind of tricked into the fact that they thought Hurts was playing the first game. Like, Sirianni came out and, hinted at it. He came out and said the field wasn't right conditions, blah, blah, blah. I'm glad the starting defense started, though. That would be my more main concern on if you were to choose one side of the ball and new defensive coordinator. I know we have new offensive coordinator, but we have so much talent on our offense, just like stud guys, that I'm just happy our defense was able to get out there. I know Sled didn't play, but we still got to see Rodgers, got to see Mitchell. We got to see our defensive line in action. And I'm just happy that we at least got them to go full speed. And they look pretty good during the preseason. Obviously that's not going to be against a first string offense, and you're not going to be able to do everything, but you saw flashes of guys. You're able to see Nolan Smith get into action a little bit, get a couple sacks. Mitchell had a couple great pass up plays. And honestly, some people are like, oh, it's kind of soft to not play like Jalen and Saquon and AJ and Devonta and a lot of the starting alignment, but I'm not sad about it at all. I'm very, very content with it. I'm very happy, and I'm excited for the season to start.
Well, as a fan, I'm disappointed just for the sake of I'm antsy to see them play. But from a coaching standpoint, I have no problem with it. We know what we're getting from our offensive guys. We know what we have. We're not exactly worried about seeing that, but we did have a lot of new pieces on the defense that we were looking forward to seeing, aka Bryce Huff, Devin White, Zach Bond, like you already said, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. We got to see him for one game. And CJ Gardner-Johnson being back. And we wanted to see those defensive linemen in Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis getting some reps and getting to see, how much improvement they've made in the offseason. So I think you're right on the ball in saying that the defense was the side that, we wanted to see in the preseason. Preseason really doesn't matter for much outside of just getting active and getting moving. And we didn't see any preseason action from the offensive starters last year either, so it wasn't a huge surprise. I did think that the teasing was a little bit unnecessary, but outside of that, you can't complain about the preseason. Preseason's the preseason, and I think we got to see a good amount of from the guys that we wanted to see. Like you said, some pass breakups from Quinyon Mitchell. Got to see Cooper DeJean get in and make a few tackles. We didn't get to see a lot of action out of him. I did like what I saw from Devin White. I wasn't paying enough attention to Zach Bond, so I'm excited to see how he's going to do in the upcoming season, and whether he's going to keep his spot relative to Nakobe Dean, who we obviously have all been excited to see for a while, but has not quite been making the strides that everybody's been hoping he would. So I'm hoping that he continues to grow, and Zach Bond can fill in that place for the time being. And if need be, I hope Zach Bond can step up and take over that role. And
and even Trotter too. I heard Trotter had a good camp. I don't know. I know he's still undersized and everything else, but it was just cool like seeing him out there in Eagles uniform again.
it was
Um,
really cool seeing Trotter in Eagles
so
uniform.
like that was
I know
just
we were
cool.
all excited about that.
But yeah, dude, I'm excited for the season. We don't have too many holes. We're still gonna discuss that in the near future. But dude, I mean, we have to remember the end of last year, which was disgusting and horrible, and it left such a disgusting taste in all of our mouths. But moving past that would just be so nice to start off in Brazil and get that win against the Packers. I know we're gonna go into schedule in a second after we go through the roster, but dude, it's just been such a long off season because we made all these moves and everything else. It just the end of the season was just so brutal, and I just want to get rid of it completely.
I couldn't agree more. And I also couldn't be more excited to see the Eagles in a more competent system offensively and defensively this year. Obviously, we're all aware of the offensive defensive play calling struggles that we went through last year and can attribute our disastrous end of the season to most of that. Obviously, the players were involved as well. Coaching was involved as well. But personally, I feel the play calling schemes were not just horrible. Like, it felt almost grade school level. It really did feel like, head scratching. What the heck are we doing? So, from what I've seen from camp so far out of Kellen Moore's offense, he seems to be utilizing the running back position greatly, which is awesome considering, the acquisition we made in Saquon. They're not just giving him the ball out of the backfield, but also giving him touches out of the backfield as a receiver. From what I heard, he had more catches in camp than any of the wide receivers did in our system, which I'm really excited to see. I know that we saw some, reactional clips from AJ and Devontae watching Saquon, get to work, and I think everybody's excited for that to, get moving. And I'm really, really, really excited for the fact that Jalen Hurts seems healthy. He seems happy, and I'm excited for him to turn around and show the league why he was, an MVP runner-up and why he's been in MVP conversations every year, despite the amount of hate that he gets, especially right now off of his at the end of the last season. So I'm excited to see him make people eat their words, and I'm excited for this Eagles offense to get moving, especially with the acquisition of Jahan Dotson, who we haven't had the chance to talk about, which was an awesome move by Howie, per usual, another masterclass, getting him in here and filling in that wide receiver 3 position to just really fill out the roster with as much talent as possible.
No, it's fantastic, dude. I mean, even I didn't expect us to get Dotson in any shape or form. I just thought maybe we'd find a guy during training camp. I know Wilson, I believe, was it Greg Wilson or whoever it was, that rookie. He was supposed to do something, and then Covey had Johnny Wilson. That's who.
Johnny Wilson, yeah.
He still made the roster, but I thought maybe he'd be the wide receiver 3. I thought maybe Covey would get a shot, but getting Dotson in here, a clear wide receiver 2 on the majority of teams in the NFL. Some people I heard lately talking, oh, now he's good, quote unquote. WIP guys, they just kind of just talking to talk, but this guy is such a great wide receiver 3. Like he's wide receiver 2 on a lot of teams, if not at his full potential when he actually has a quarterback. So I'm very excited that he's here. I'm very excited for this offense. I'm just excited for this team in general. I know the loss of Jason Kelce is going to be a lot. Some people alluded to the fact. How much do you think? I'll ask you. How much do you think that the Cam Jurgens filling in for him will affect the beginning of the season?
Personally, I don't think it will at all. I think people, as much as I love Kelce, I have his jersey. He will forever be, a top 3, top 2, maybe even top 1 Eagle in my heart forever. But Jason Kelce handpicked this man to be his replacement, taught him everything he knows. Cam Jurgens is more than capable enough of taking over this spot and handling the offense the same way that he did. Maybe, it might be a stretch to say the same way, but I think that he's more than capable of filling into that spot. And I don't think that we're going to see as big of a decline as everyone thinks that we're going to in that position. A lot of news networks have been talking about the loss of Jason Kelce and how this Eagles team was centered around him. Like, Jason Kelce was a great leader, but he was not the main voice in that offense probably at any point, realistically. Jason Kelce will always be a lead by example kind of guy, But the guys running this offense have always been Hurts, AJ, Devontae, and yes, Kelsey. But I think in that order almost. Jason Kelsey snaps the ball and he blocks, and he's going to be a surefire Hall of Famer, first ballot, maybe the best center of all time. But I don't think that it's going to be as drastic of a change as everybody thinks it is.
No, even today, like I was hearing late comments about like it was kind of talked about like Jalen Hurts alluding to the fact of when blitzes come, like he'll panic and this and that. And someone alluded people are taking the words out of every single like word that Hurts says against Sirianni all offseason. It's been like very ticky tacky on his wording, which is I don't read into it as much as some of these analysts do, but basically alluding to the fact that or trying, they kind of stretched it way too far, alluding to the fact that Kelsey picked up on the blitzes and he ran all of that. I'm not a huge fan of Donovan McNabb off the field, but he came on and basically said there's no shot that Jalen and Kelsey did not communicate with each other. That's what your center and quarterback do, even on blitz and everything. There's just no chance that Kelsey was like, oh, don't worry about this Jalen at all. We'll pick it up as an O-line. Like, that's just not what happened. I was glad Donovan said that because that's exactly what I was thinking. And it's just like all season, the whole Sirianni Hurts stuff, like they hate each other, blah, 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 bad blood. Dude, we got to just like stop nitpick. I just can't wait for them to get on the field. All this off-season, like reading into a lot of stuff. Do you read into any of it at all? Am I just being
No, I don't read into it because all these arguments sound like couch warriors that don't understand the game of football, don't understand what the players do in preparation for football, and don't understand what players do to make themselves better. Jalen Hurts is a player who reached out to a division rival's coach after he got fired to ask him anything and everything that they did to game plan against him. And no other quarterback is doing that. He's looking at every angle and every inch of everything that he can do to make himself better. And if you think that he's not sitting there studying how to read a blitz, not to mention the fact that he's been a top 10 quarterback in this league for the past 5 years now, like, people got to stop acting like he's still some newcomer that has to prove something. Like, he's proved it. He's done it already. I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem as everybody thinks it is. Not to mention, I think that people are forgetting that Jalen Hurts has his speed back this year. I think that's going to be a big factor in the way that the offense moves. And I've watched clips of him in practice, and I can promise you he looks a lot faster than he did last year, proving further that he was hurt all year. He was dealing with injuries, and hurt and injured are two different things. Like, he was dealing with an injury that was bothering him all season long. Something he could play through, yes, but absolutely taking an effect on his level of play. 100%.
100%. And I'm excited. I think I'm going to put it out there that he's going to have MVP season. I just think there's no reason he shouldn't. I mean, there's like all these arguments if he's you saw Dan Orlovsky doing like the quarterbacks that are like elite guys, and he didn't put Hurts in there because his offense is just too stacked, this and that. I was surprised to see Dan do that because he is like a kind of an Eagles lover at most times. It's just all this talk. It's just like every ranking you look at, he's not in the top 10. And it just makes zero sense to me. When I understand, I guess I'm kind of biased because I've seen him at his best, and I kind of discount the worst because I know how good he is and know how good he's going to be. And I just can't wait to like prove him wrong. That's why I just can't wait to play. I just know it's going to be great, and I don't need to hear anything else from anyone because I don't really care.
As Eagles fans, we watch this guy play every single game. All these other fans that are talking crap on him and making fun of him and hating on him, they're not watching every single play of every game that he's playing. The same way that I don't watch Joe Burrow every single play, I don't watch Pat Mahomes every play, I don't watch Lamar Jackson every play. I can have my opinions on them, but they're not as valid if you're not watching every single play and watching the play. And we've watched Jalen Hurts for 4 or 5 years now, and I know what I've seen from him. I know what he's capable of. And I know that he was not comfortable in the offense that we ran last year. And based off what I've seen in camp this year, he looks like he's a lot more comfortable again. People are, ignoring the fact that he's going through his, 8th offensive coach in the past 5 years?
Something ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. he's going to get comfortable in a system as long as we can maintain that coach. And, what are we supposed to do about the fact that the Eagles offense is so good every year that the coach gets taken for a head coaching job every time? Like,
I'm sure if we have a great offense this year, Kellen Moore is leaving because he deserves another chance of getting a head coach spot, which is, you can't blame him. Like, we just get good coaches in here. I know whatever you want to say about Sirianni is everything, but we don't have to talk about all that because we already kind of went into it a little bit. But I'm excited for the season to start. I really could care less about all the speculation and whatnot. So
I completely agree. Moving on to the next thing, though, real quick, I'm just going to mention off some of the notable cuts from the preseason. Any guys that you guys were wishing to see, any guys that, that were notable names in this offense that had a chance of being borderline on the roster. So on the offensive side of the ball, we cut Paris Campbell, we cut Will Grier, we cut Matt Hennessy, and we cut John Ross. So those were all names that I would have liked to see on the roster, but understood that, obviously it's hard to make an NFL roster, and they didn't unfortunately produce in the way that I had hoped that they might, especially John Ross. I was very much hoping that he might be able to, reignite his career and maybe make a run at being a punt returner or at least, a wide receiver 3. But unfortunately he couldn't edge out that role. And a guy who wasn't cut, but I did really want to see get the job before we got Dotson was Covey. I honestly was loving what I was seeing from Covey all offseason, all preseason. I thought that his routes looked crisp. He was making separation. He looked fast. Unfortunately, I just think that I think his size takes a big toll on his ability to, maintain that position.
Did Covey get cut?
No, Covey is still on the roster. He didn't get the wide receiver 3 spot.
Sorry. I misheard you. I was okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. A guy that I saw that I liked was Matt Hennessy. I really thought he was going to be a starting guard before the preseason. Obviously, he had a horrible camp from what I heard. And, I mean, he's a starter on the Falcons as their center or their right guard. Obviously, we got Becton in there, and then Tyler Steen fighting for that spot. It's supposed to be Becton if he's going to be healthy, I believe.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I honestly thought he was going to be a big piece, but he had a horrible camp, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, you're borderline starter. You go from borderline starter to not playing well at all in the system and well in camp. You're just going to get cut. That's just how the NFL is. It's a brutal place where literally the season before he's starting on an NFL team, and then you get cut. But that's just how the NFL is. It's very competitive, and no position is safe other than obviously certain guys that are just superstars. But other than that, guys that are just even NFL starters get cut, which is that's one that pointed out that I thought was crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I lost my train of thought. But I do completely agree with, it's hard to make an NFL roster, and some guys have really good camps, some guys have really bad camps. And like you said, Becton, for example, was somebody that I didn't really expect much out of. He came in late into training camp. We just pulled him off of a late cut from the Jets and gave him a chance with Stoutland, and he seemed like he was going to be more of a project player. But he came in and knew that he was a guy with high expectations, but lost his opportunity, and this was his second chance, and he worked his ass off and earned that spot. And I was really shocked by it, but I was also really impressed by what I saw from him. So I'm really excited for that. I mean, I did see that the Eagles do have the largest offensive line in the league by a wide margin in terms of literal just general size of the player. With Becton on our squad, I mean, I think he's 6'9", 350, if not more. And you got, Lane. You've got Lane's looking small over there at 6'3", 320.
That's crazy.
And then you've got Mailata on the other side, who's even bigger. And, you can't forget about Dickerson and Juergens, even though they're a little bit on the smaller side in comparison to the other guys. But our offensive line is looking massive. So that's going to be exciting to see how they do this year. But lastly, the last few guys that we waived And for anyone that don't know, the difference between releasing and waiving is that waiving, you have the chance to pull them back to your practice squad. Releasing them means that they are just cut from the organization and free to go wherever. So in terms of our waivers, we let go of big names. Josh Jobe, a guy who had a chance in previous years, saw some time on the field last year, couldn't quite make the cut with a crowded cornerback back room.
Dude, Eli Ricks making it over Josh Jobe. I'm just going to interrupt you because that's where I wanted to go. Eli Ricks did not play well. I didn't see him play well in the preseason game of the Vikings. I thought he looked awful. I guess he had a better camp than Jobe did. I just thought I'm not a big Eli Ricks guy. I know I'm talking about the second, third string quarter in whatever spot, but I thought Josh Jobe would make. I know he's still on a practice squad. He could still move up and get elevated. But just seeing that, A.D. McPherson I thought Ricks was definitely getting waived. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of seen them as 1A and 1B. I feel like it could have gone either way for either of them. I think Ricks, being, the only thing that I can think of that he's got going for him is that he's from Alabama. Maybe has a little bit more, potential to him. I'm not sure what the Eagles see. I hope that he doesn't see the field. I know that because I haven't been impressed with what I've seen from him or Jobe. But I did think that Jobe at least showed more in the season last year, especially, than Ricks did against, full starting NFL rosters. But I am excited with our cornerback field. I'm
not complaining about either of them being on a team. I hope they don't get to play.
Exactly. We've got guys in place. Ringo is our backup, who I'm really excited about. He easily had a chance to earn that starting spot. So you've got a starting caliber guy sitting behind everybody. Not to mention you've got Avonte Maddox in there. So I'm excited for the way the secondary is going to look this year. Lastly, we've got Zach McPherson, a guy who, had a little bit of talk about him in previous years, but is finally, I think they've given up on that chance. And honestly, that's about it. Armani Rogers, we let go of, and Jack Stoll was a little bit more surprising, Jack Stoll, but that is somebody that got put on the practice squad. Our practice squad players are Oren Burks, Paris Campbell, Tyrion Davis-Price, Nick Gates, Will Greer, Gabe Hall, E.J. Jenkins, Dylan McMahon, Marcus Rosemead, Jack Saint, I hope I didn't butcher that. Andre Sam, Brandon Smith, Caden Stearns, Jack Stoll, and Lakin Vakalahi.
I can't help you. I'm worse at names than you are.
Usually I'm pretty good with names, but those ones trip me up a little bit. But that would be our practice squad guys, all guys that have potential to, make an appearance on the roster at some point this year. But our roster's finally filled out. I'm excited for what we've got. And with that all being said, why don't we just jump right into what we expect out of these guys this year?
For me, it's Super Bowl or bust. Is that too high expectations? Possibly. I don't think so with this roster. I think it's possibly, you could argue, the best roster in NFL through and through. I just believe that this offense is a juggernaut offense with key pieces on the defense if they play well. Obviously, that's all. Yeah. Oh, yeah, if they play well. A lot of it comes down, for me, is the defensive line. I don't know how Bryce Huff did great last year. He had 10 sacks. Jalen Carter played amazing last year. I expect both of them to be great. I expect especially big things from Jalen Carter. I expect him to be amazing. I expect him to be our best D lineman overall, and I hope he's able to live up to those standards. I was happy we re-signed Sweat. I was happy. Obviously, we had to lose Reddick, and we'll see how Nolan Smith. He's a little undersized. You were talking about it the other day with me that his speed just isn't translating to the type of speed that is elite yet. But it comes down to the D line for me and how well these linebackers play. I'm really excited for Devin White. I think our corners upgraded, but I think our downgrade this year was the D line, and I just think our O line's fantastic. Our receivers are great. I love Saquon. I love Jalen. I think our offense will not be the problem, especially with the right play calling this year. I think for me it comes down to the D line and how well they're able to win the line of game. And if they can do that, I think we could be Super Bowl champions if they become borderline elite.
Well, I think you're right in terms that our D line is the X factor of this team. How they play is going to make or break how this defense plays for the most part. But I don't exactly agree with you in terms of saying that they downgraded. I think that the only position that changed was losing Hassan Reddick and gaining Bryce Huff. And personally, where they're at in their careers, I personally think that could turn into an upgrade. As much as I love Hassan Reddick, I appreciate everything he did here. He's a Philly native. Always appreciate him. He was asking for too much money, and unfortunately, with the contract genius that how he is, he knew that wasn't a piece that we could afford, knowing that Hassan hasn't exactly, proved his prove-it deal. I feel like Howie gave him a prove-it deal, and he kind of was just okay. He had a good year, but nothing crazy, and he was still asking for top 3 pass rusher money, and Howie knew he couldn't do that. Instead, he gets a young guy who has shown great flashes despite little playing time in Bryce Huff, and everything I've seen out of him this offseason has looked incredible to me. I think he looks fast. I think he looks strong. I know his pass rushing that he did get last year, his pass rushing rate was incredibly high. I personally think Bryce Huff is going to step into that role and take over being the D-line's leader. I think he's going to be that good. He's, to me, the player I'm most excited to see play this year, despite how he plays. He could be great. He could very much let me down, but I'm very excited to see which direction he's going to go. And lastly, it's going to come down to the corners. I think that despite us having a very solid cornerback field, I think that we're just solid. I don't think we're great. I think that Slay obviously has been an elite corner for years, but is on the slower side at this point. He's at the tail end of his career. He knows it. We know it. He still has, his name still holds weight, and he's still a great corner, but he's teetering. And I think that between Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, and Keely Ringo, and DeJean as well, are all in about the same category right now. I think we have a lot of room for Quinyon and DeJean to grow and be those guys in the future. But where we're at right now, we've got borderline cornerback 2 to 3 guys all fighting for the second cornerback spot. And I think that all of them I think they are going to be a bit of a weak link this year. I do expect, at least at times. Obviously, cornerback is probably the hardest position to play on the field, but I do expect, I think that if we want to have a good defense this year, we're going to need to see a lot from our corners.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the ball. From the end of last season, we had the worst. I mean, obviously, I hated the coaching change to Matt Patricia, but our D-backs played like horrific, like the worst in NFL at the end of the year. Just the way we were playing, giving up yards, it was just awful. It was disgustingly awful. I'm not going to say anything about Bradbury. I hope he gets healthy and everything, but don't want to see him out there. I kind of want him to get cut as much as I didn't want him to get injured. I didn't want any of that. But
the reason he didn't get cut really comes down to contract reasons more so than his play.
Yeah. But like I just wanted to eat it. But I know he shouldn't, and I know maybe someone will trade something for it if they're in need in the middle of the season. But he's hurt right now, so he'll be out at least, I believe, 4 weeks at the minimum. But yeah, so. And there's no reason for him to rush back. I'll be honest. I don't know when Sidney Brown's timeline is of him coming back, but
I think he's still got a while.
Yeah. So, is CJ going to be back to start the season?
I'm unsure, honestly. I haven't looked into it too much. To be completely honest with you, I might be a bad fan. I didn't even know he was hurt right now. So
yeah, he got hurt. But he'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll look into that and see how that goes. I mean, he's got 4 days.
It's his same shoulder, which is annoying, but he'll be okay.
I'm sure it's more of a precaution than anything, but I suppose we'll see in the future.
He might be fine, but either way, let's get it right onto the schedule. I know we've been eating up a lot of time talking, but
yeah,
coming down who we play.
We've missed some time. We had to go over a few things really quick, but we don't have to take too much time running through this schedule. We'll go back and forth. We'll give our wins and losses, and we'll give our final predictions at the end. So jumping right into it, this Friday, Green Bay, what do we expect? Just
Brazil.
go win or loss. We don't have to give a lot of reasoning to it. Not yet, at least.
Say Brazil is just like, gosh, darn it. I know we had to play somewhere, but I don't know why they chose Brazil. I understand it's a great area. I mean, that's not a great area. I don't know what it is compared to Rio and everything. I thought they were playing in Rio for the longest time. I heard a lot of different things but it sounds like it's fine. But whatever, crime rate and whatnot, wearing green, all that BS. I think we beat the Packers. I think the Packers are. Me and Matt discussed it. I'm going to say the same exact thing. We were talking about that. They ended the season hot. They killed the Cowboys the first round. We got demolished in the first round. I think that Jordan Love's on the come up. He's very good. I think they have decent weapons. They just signed Josh Jacobs. Their defense, I think, is very beatable. I'm not like scared. I know they have a good run D, but I'm not scared of this Packers team. I think that we have to start out the season hot, and I think a lot of people expect to start slow. I think we start off hot because they just don't know what to expect from Saquon and Kellen Moore offense. I'm just excited. All of it's new to us. It has to be redone. There's no way it's slightly the same as last year. I think we come out with a bang, and I think we come out beating the Packers.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think I could receive a lot of hate comments for this, but I do personally believe, not by his own fault, but I do think with the way he's talked about and the way he's praised, I do think that Jordan Love is currently the most overrated player in the NFL, hands down. And I think that he can easily prove me wrong in that regard. But the fact that he has played one season, is already the highest paid quarterback of all time, and is in MVP talks, after I watch a season of him do okay to start, really shit the bed in the middle, and then finish the season really well, he's gotten quite the hype for somebody that did, that had like a pretty good season. I'm very excited for him. I don't mean to hate on him. It's more so just a fan to fan kind of thing. But I don't think Jordan Love is all that yet. He still has to prove it to me. Very easily could this year, but I still think that they're not a very talented roster. And I think that our roster is light years better than they are. And I think that this offensive system is going to click really well with our offensive players. So to me, I kind of expect like a pretty decent win in this first week. So I suppose we'll see coming up on Friday. So starting off 1-0 for both of us.
Yeah, the only concern is why it just like short week for both teams. It's going to be interesting to see. It's just going to be, we're all on the same playing field, but it's just like a Friday and like traveling to Brazil, short week. It's a weird way to start the season, but I know
it's a very weird way to start the season. But it's the same way for both us and Green Bay.
This is true.
So it's definitely weird. But then we get a little bit of an extra break for a Monday night game the next week. I do think it's really annoying that we lost a home game, but I think football is football. I think they're going to go out there and play, and I think that we have a better team than Green Bay does, simply. So I expect to win there. Week 2 against Atlanta. Home against Atlanta.
Our first home game, retiring Foles' jersey, baby.
Yes, sir, and Eagles GOAT. I think that house is going to be bumping for that for sure.
Give your thoughts first.
Well, sorry about that. Unfortunately, I don't want to keep using the term overrated, but I think that Atlanta's another team that's gotten a little bit overrated. I think they did make some big jumps in terms of getting a quarterback this year. Obviously, adding Kirk Cousins is going to make a huge difference for them. I think they are taking a step up this year, but I still think they're on a rebuild stage right now. I don't feel like they're a complete team yet. Maybe I'm wrong to say that. I don't really know anyone in terms of who they have on defense. Their offense is pretty loaded. They're starting to come together, but it's never seemed like they've utilized their pieces the way they're supposed to. Even going into this year, I've heard their new play caller talking about how Tyler Algier might take more snaps than Bijan. So I don't know what to expect from that team. I think they're a little bit unpredictable, but I don't think that they're a complete roster yet, and I see another win there. Especially in a house where Foles is getting retired in the first home game.
Them drafting Michael Penix in the 9th overall pick was so shocking to me that I don't understand that. Why you sign Kirk Cousins off season? Why would you draft the oldest QB in the college football? Who is, I'm not saying anything against Michael Penix, but like, why would the Falcons? It just didn't make any sense to me. Some key additions for them would
legit, but paying Kirk Cousins all that money and picking Penix, they don't go together. So
yeah,
I'm with you on that.
But them signing Justin Simmons in their secondary of AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, their secondary is kind of scary. Them getting Matthew Judon is very scary. They just added these guys out of nowhere. They're kind of low key under the radar.
Right. That's why I wasn't really aware of their defense, because they did it really suddenly, honestly.
No, they were very like under the radar, like sneaky, like, okay, oh, they got this guy. They re-signed. Okay, they re-signed Bates. Oh shit. Why did Matthew Judon go for a 5th round pick or whatever it was? It was, or maybe it was a little higher, but it wasn't anything more than a 3rd. Judon's sick. I think this is going to give us trouble in the secondary. I think we're going to have to. I think we still win this game, but it's going to be ground and pound against this team. I want to see how Atlanta plays week 1 with Kirk Cousins behind the helm. I am blanking on their new coach's name because I know they fired Arthur Smith, but I am very excited to see. I'm kind of excited to see how the Falcons do. I mean, Mooney, Rondell Moore, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. If they use Bijan, like you were saying, that Algier will get more snaps again, they are just silly for that. I believe that we stretch out this win. The home atmosphere gives us an extra boost. I think Saquon does great in this game, and I think we win a close one. I'm going to go 2-0 to start off.
I agree. So next week we have a game in New Orleans.
So this is like easy, like flat spot. The Saints aren't like necessarily good in any way. I'm not like, they're just so average and they refuse to just tank. I don't know what it is with the Saints of why they refuse to just like kind of just like accept being bad. I think they're going to be the most average team. I think they might finish 7-9. I could see them finishing as good as 9-8. I just think that they're just the most average team. They still have a little like certain pieces like Lattimore. They still have a couple guys on the D line. They'd still like, why do they still have Kamara's contract? I would not be happy as a Saints fan right now. You keep Dennis Allen there. He is a horrible play caller. I don't know what, like, they're using Olave, and the Olave Derek Carr connection was just ridiculous when they would throw it to him. I think Dennis Allen's a horrible coach. I think we win this game, but this is a type of game where it's going to be really hard in New Orleans.
Yeah, I could see this being a trick game to an extent. But at the same time, I think that your prediction of them being upwards, up to 9-8 is a little bit lofty for them. I do think that they just don't feel like a team with a lot of stature right now. They do have a little bit of like, they're missing some key pieces, including the quarterback position. Even though I know Derek Carr can still throw the ball, still has his moments. He's got a big arm, but it just doesn't. They don't feel close knit or tight. Like, and maybe that's just me as an outside fan not watching them all the time, but they just don't feel like cohesive. And I don't really expect them to make too big of a jump. I expect them to be closer to like a 7-9 or a 6-10.
Olave literally said that they don't like. They're like, they asked him quote for quote, what point in camp did you guys realize that like you guys could win a Super Bowl? And he kind of looked at the camera and was like kind of like shook his head a little bit.
They don't feel like, something about that team just doesn't feel right. I can't put my finger on it right now, but it just doesn't click. And I think that we're going to see a similar thing. So I expect us to go 3-0 here.
All right. The rematch of last year's playoffs going into Tampa Bay for week 4. What do you expect here?
Maybe this is just the fan in me, but I actually expect a blowout in the rerun here. I expect us to come out firing and not just proving to the fans, but proving to themselves that they're different from last year. I think this is going to be a bit more of a prove it game for the Eagles than people expect it to be, especially considering it's now twice in recent years that the Bucs have knocked us out of the playoffs. I think there's going to be a little saltiness to the players, and I think they're going to play with a little bit of an edge this game. And I don't expect the Bucs to edge us out here.
I just can't go with the Bucs here. I know we're a better team, and it's going to be heartbreaking if we go in there and look remotely like we did in the playoffs. That would be disgusting. And honestly, it would be horrible. And especially a bye week coming after, they have to go all out in this game. This is not you have to win this game and go into the bye. I hope they don't look ahead to the bye. I mean, it's a very early bye week. I just really, there's no reason any Eagles fan should think we lose this game. This roster versus roster, it's disgusting what happened last year. Um, I'm in the same boat as you, dude. Maybe it's a fan of me too. There's no shot I can have the Bucks here.
Yeah, I agree. So going to the next week is a bye week, and after the bye week, we have Cleveland.
So I initially scheduled this as a loss, but then I remember it was after our bye week. I think the Browns defense is still really good. I still don't believe in Deshaun Watson. I used to think he was actually a good quarterback on the Texans. I thought he had talent.
He was. I think
thought he was.
ulterior things threw him off track a little bit.
I mean, obviously, but it was just. I mean, they have the reigning defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett. They have a really good defense. I think this is a spot where we're coming off a bye and we're just strictly preparing for them. It seems like we're gonna win every game, but I mean, I think we beat the Browns. I don't know if Chubb is gonna be back for this game or not. I know he's gonna be at least the first 4 weeks. I don't know if it really matters here. They added Judy on offense. I'm not really super scared of this Browns team. I'm scared of their defense, but I think our offense can overcome theirs, and I think we're able to edge them out, especially at home.
Well, I'm actually going to take the opposite route this time. I think I'm going to write this one down as a loss. As an Eagles fan over the last however many years, I don't think I've ever seen the Eagles. You know, we always talk about, they have time to prepare on a bye week. They have time to work on this team for 2 weeks. I've never, ever seen them come out of a bye week hot. Ever. They always come out of the bye week cold. And to play a team as good as the Browns out of the bye week, I just don't see them making it happen. I just think that it's, a lot of these times we've played teams after the bye week, it happens to be a really crappy team, and even those teams almost beat us. So I think I'm going to put this one down as a loss. I don't really have faith in the Browns. I don't have faith in Deshaun Watson. But I think that he's good enough to handle that offense, at least to an extent. I think that he will be the downfall of the Browns, like in terms of if they, don't have a complete season or don't put it all together, it will be on him. But like you said, they have a stellar defense, maybe the best in the league, and they've got a lot of offensive weapons as well. So I do think that they're a scary team to come out of the bye week again. So I'm going to put that one down as a loss.
All right, next week into MetLife Stadium against Danny Dimes and Saquon's old team. I believe we killed them. I have
not and I don't want to hear a single Giants fan say otherwise either. I have not a stitch of hope in the Giants being any bit good. I don't think. You know what? Actually, I'm wrong. If there's any saving grace for the Giants, it's their D-line. They have a good D-line. But everything else in the roster is just in shambles. And it feels like they settle for so much. I watched their offseason Hard Knocks. I don't even like the way they run themselves as an organization. I just think, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh because we don't like the Giants, but I don't expect much out of them. I think that's a resounding win.
No, I definitely think they're a bottom 5 team in the league. I don't think it's a hot take. I think they're in shambles. They believe in Danny Dimes, who's coming off ACL. For what reason? They don't want to resign
Danny Dimes. I don't think anyone believes in Danny Dimes. It's that they put themselves in a position where they have to believe in Danny Dimes.
Well, they got a receiver now, so I guess they're going to be good. Oh, wait, they signed Devin Singletary too. Decent running back. Well, who else could you sign for $10 million more for 3 years? $3 million a year. You couldn't sign anyone better. Saquon's going to have 3 touchdowns in that game. I think we're not going to tush push. We're just going to give Saquon the ball and just rub it in their faces. Maybe it seems like too easy. I'm already at 6-0, which is kind of disgusting in my head.
I understand how disgusting it feels, but this team is going to be like a 14-3, 13-4, 12-5 kind of team.
I just really think we killed the Giants here. I really don't think they're a good team outside of the Raiders and like Tennessee even like interests me this year. I really think they might lose the most games. Carolina, them, like, dude, they're not a good team. This team, like, I think Dexter Lawrence is overrated. I know he's supposed to, like, he was in the top 20 in the top 100 and all this. At 4.5 sacks, he's good and he's decent. I think Kayvon's not that great. I just, uh, I just don't like the Giants. I mean, obviously a bias, but yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I think we blow them the hell out. I just don't think it's close. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you there. So let's not waste any more time. On to the next week. Masley's got us at 6-0. I have us at 5-1 currently. Going into the next week, we have a game at Cincinnati, and that's definitely going to be a tough one.
So this game is going to be the end of October. It's going to be chilly. I think we lose this one. I think the receiving core just is too much for our DBs. I think we struggle a little bit in this game. Trey Hendricks is scary under D-line. I think the Bengals are almost my pick, depending. They have to sign Jamar back, obviously, which they will. I have no they're going to extend it before the season starts, I believe.
I honestly don't think they're going to. I mean, I don't doubt that they're going to give him an extension, but I don't know if they're going to get it done in time.
It's going to be done by week 7. I'll give you that much.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sure he'll be playing against us probably.
Yeah. No, I think it'll get done. I think there's no reason it doesn't. I think it's going to be a really tough game for us. And I think the Bengals, this is my pick this year to be the Super Bowl matchup. I really think this might be a preview. I really think the Bengals are a great team if they can get it all together.
Really?
I know Joe Burrow, they had a lap year last year. I think they're a really good team. I'm excited. I mean, obviously they lost Joe Mixon. I don't think that's really going to hurt them that much. I think that by the end of Zach Moss isn't the leading back. Chase Brown is. I think they're a decent team. I really think Joe Burrow is going to come back and be comeback player of the year. I think they're going to be a really good team this year. And I don't know. I think they're going to beat us. And in their stadium after a big win against the Giants, I think it's kind of a down spot for us.
Well, I'm actually once again going to take the opposite route. I do think I have us coming out of this one with a W. Don't have a lot of basis behind it outside of I just kind of have a gut feeling. I do think Cincinnati's a little bit overrated because of Joe Burrow and their offense and how good he has made them look. I don't think that they have the full set of talent the way that the Eagles do. I think that they make up for it with the quality of the guys that they do have. I know they've got a pretty decent defense as well. They're a solid team, one of the better ones that we're going to play this year. But I think that we keep the ball rolling and push past them. It's actually the next game that I think that gives them trouble. And this one's another, honestly, pretty gut feeling because I don't think that they're a better team than us at all. But next week we go back home and play Jacksonville in a night game, Sunday night game. For some reason, I don't know why it just has like a tough game written all over it for me. They're a team like we've talked about this in previous podcasts over the years that the Eagles have a way of playing down to their opponents, and the Jaguars are a team where they're good enough that you can't play down to them, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think the Jaguars are anything stellar, but I think that they're a good team. And if you go down a level to play them, then they can edge you out. And that to me is what I'm getting as a feeling for this game coming up. I just have a weird feeling that they're gonna, it's just gonna be a hard fought shootout kind of game, and we're gonna make some stupid mistakes, and that'll be our second loss of the season to me.
No, I'm gonna have to agree with you here. I think just becomes a little bit of a skid. I think it's gonna happen at some time during the season. I just think that their receiving core I think is really good. I really love. I told you, and you got him in our dynasty league. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be really good at football. I think he's going to end up taking over their number 2 spot, if not number 1, by this point in the season. Christian Kirk obviously is good. They signed Gabe Davis in the offseason. They have a decent team. It just comes down to how well T. Law is going to play. I'm not going to say that I wouldn't put him in the top 10 of my quarterbacks. A lot of people have high expectations for him. He's supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be like a top 5 quarterback type of talent. You've seen little flashes of it, but not really too much. I think Dougie P is able to get it together. I think they're going to have a really solid win here, and I think it's going to be a hard fought game, but we're just going to be disappointed in the end.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. So at this point, I have them at, I'm losing track here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 6-2 here. I have them at, and you have them at 7-1, correct?
6-2.
6-2. All right, so we're both back at 6-2 here. Moving on to the next week, we go to Dallas. Obviously, one of our harder games of the year. Personally, I'm going to take a W here. I think that it's pretty common that we split with them. I kind of think that we're going to split in a weird way where we're going to take their home game and they're going to take our home game. But I do think that we're a much better team than Dallas. I think that us and Dallas are always constantly put in the same conversation, but we've talked about this in previous years' podcasts. I feel like in every spot, we're just a little bit better than they are. You could maybe make the argument that Dak maybe has a step on Jalen, but I don't even really feel that way personally. That could be a little bit of fan bias in me, but yeah, I think that we're going to take a dub here. I think that the way that Jerry Jones has conducted their offseason with contract talks between CeeDee Lamb and between Dak, I think that he couldn't do a better job of pissing off his 2 most important players, which I love to see. They have, virtually not much at the running back position this year after the loss of Pollard. I know they got Zeke back, but it's pretty obvious that Zeke's career is pretty much on the tail end, and he's not even the starter. Who's the starting guy?
I think Rico Dowd's going to start for them.
Yeah.
When it comes down to
maybe he could have a breakout year, but I just don't think that this team is better than ours. I think if we don't sweep them this year, that they're going to take our home game from us. But I have us winning this one here to not fall into too much of a skid.
No, I mean, I 100% agree. I'm hoping I'm able to go to this game, which would be electric. I haven't exactly made all the plans and arrangements for yet, but I'm hoping it all lines up where I'm able to go to this game. They just didn't make any like big drops in the
nothing
off season.
Literally nothing.
I just don't understand what their plan is other than
they signed Eric Kendricks. I think that was it, right?
Yeah, but even he's older. I mean, sure, you signed Royce Freeman, but it doesn't matter.
He's probably a downgrade from Leighton Vander Esch, who they had to let go of because his career is over.
Yeah, because
of injuries.
I'm not anymore. It's weird. We got better. They stayed the same, and I think we were borderline better than them last year. It's a win for me. I don't know. I mean,
I agree.
It's straight up, they just haven't got any better, and it's how you and like you said, with all the talk that Jerry Jones is doing, I hope he stays their owner forever. I hope it runs through the Jones family for the rest of our lives. It's fantastic seeing them just be awful, and I hope it's the same this year. I'm not really scared of them, and that's it. I'm hoping I go to this game, and I'm hoping to see a win.
So let's power through these last few games. We don't have to give too much description to these ones. Let's just run through this. So next game, Thursday Night Football against Washington. I'm going to give us a dub here.
I think we lose. I think it's a bad spot.
I don't see us losing in prime time on Thursday Night Football, but that's just me. If there's any time for them to upset us, it's Sunday at a 1:00 game. But
that's so horrible. Oh, let's just give them a regular. All right, since we're gonna do next time we play is week 16. Why do you think the Sunday 1:00 is a better spot for them to beat us?
Genuinely, not really a good basis to that outside of the fact that Thursday Night Football, you've got all eyes on you. Everybody's gonna be watching. It's Thursday night game at home. I just don't see them, overcoming the bright lights to beat us in that game. I feel like the pressure's off more in just a regular 1:00 game late in the season. But I don't expect them to beat us for either two, personally. So I think that they're a young team. I think they have a lot to put together before they, I do think that Washington's always dangerous against us. I don't know why. I guess it's just the divisional aspect of it. But I don't expect these to be easy games by any means, but I don't see either of them being losses to me. So
this quick Thursday night, I think this is where Jaden Daniels overtakes Caleb Williams for offensive rookie of the year. I think he's going to have, if he stays healthy, I think he's going to have a really great statistical season. And I think he's just going to dominate us. I think we're going to struggle with the running quarterback in this situation. I mean, Terry always seems to have our number for no reason whatsoever. I think it's one of those ground and pound games with Brian. Like, do you remember that ground and pound game where we couldn't stop him for 3 yards and they just did that the entire game? I think it's going to be one of those stupid games on a Thursday, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, divisional games are always tough, so divisional games can always be a 50-50 shot. But moving on to the next game, we've got the Rams in LA. I think that one could be a tough one. I could see that one being a loss. I do think that we're a better team than they are, but the Rams are just a solid team. They put up a fight against everybody they play. I think I'm still going to give us a dub here, but they're definitely a tough team. I can see that one going either way.
I think we win here. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. It seems. I'm not really scared of the Rams defense as much as I used to be. I think it's a win here, even in LA. I don't think they really have fans anyway, so I don't think the home field matters that much. And that's not even a shot. They just literally don't have fans that show up to the game.
I agree.
And I think we win. Sunday Night Football.
All right, next week we've got Baltimore. Obviously a tough game, Baltimore being a top 5 team in the league. I think I'm going to give us a loss here. I think they're a really tough team. They're a ground and pound kind of team, and when the Eagles don't have if they can't stop the run game, then they are screwed in this game. It kind of comes down to the D-line in this game. If we see, a stone wall out of them, then this is going to be an easy win, in my opinion. But if we don't see that and they're letting up 3 yards a pop, then I think Baltimore is going to kill us here. I think it's going to be one or the other. It'll be kind of a blowout in either direction. But I'm going to give us a loss here for the sake of it.
I think we're going to come back and win this game. I really like Baltimore this year. I think they lost a couple key pieces. Clowney, they lost Patrick Queen. They lost a couple guys on defense that I think they're going to take us not a step back, but not the best defense in the league this year. I think Lamar is going to have a great season, not MVP-esque. I think we know who they are. We're a very similar team with sounds horrible. We're a very similar team with more talent. We have that's what they want to do is run it constantly. I know they have Derrick Henry now. I don't know if he's even going to be healthy at this point in the season. I
think Derrick's going to have a good impact for them this year, but that's just me.
I think he will too. He's just getting older, and it's hard to say that about Derrick Henry. But
he has not shown any actual signs of really slowing down yet. So
whatsoever. I think he's a machine, and I think it's very scary. But I think we're able to actually prepare for that game, and I think we're able to get a win there.
All right. Moving on to the next week, at home versus Carolina. I don't think we have to talk too long about this one. I think this is probably a pretty easy game. Could be a trap, but I don't see much out of Carolina at all. Don't think they've really put together any key pieces to make this work out. So I'm going to take a dub there.
Yeah, I mean, they signed Deontay Johnson. They signed a couple different guys. I think Jonathan Brooks coming back for them might be huge. I think he's going to be a really good running back. I think they're actually going to be a decent. When I say decent, I think they might win 6 games this year. That's not like saying anything great, but I think that Bryce Young's going to have a better year than last year. I think their scheme's going to be a little bit better with a new coach. I don't expect them to beat us in that way. I think we're going to win this game. I kind of think they're an interesting type team that is building for the future slowly, and it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I could see them being good a little bit down the line, but I don't think they've put anything together yet, and I definitely don't think Deontay Johnson is any bit of a good pickup for them. Personally, I've never personally really liked Deontay Johnson. I think was the only target in Pittsburgh for a while, so he got a lot of targets. But I don't think that if anything, I've seen a decline in him since then. So I don't expect much from him.
I forgot by the way, we mentioned the Giants D line. I forgot Brian Burns went to the Giants.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Keep going.
On to the next game, we've got Pittsburgh. This is a team that I feel is, in disarray, but I do think that they're a classically over 500 team with Mike Tomlin, and I think that people are underrating how good of a quarterback Russell Wilson still is. I think that he's obviously declined from his prime years, but I don't think it's been as drastic as everyone wants to make it out to be. He actually had a very good season last year, despite popular belief, and put up very good stats. Didn't really get the credit he deserved because the team couldn't put it together. I don't exactly expect them to be world beaters, but I think we're going to take a dub here.
Okay. I kind of think that Pittsburgh's going to have – it's going to be interesting. I think that Fields is going to start the second half of the season just because I think they're going to give him a shot. I think if they have two quarterbacks they always say if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. I think it's going to be – they're just going to go back and forth throughout the season. I think it's going to hurt them. I think it's going to bite them in the butts, but they do have a good run game with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. I know Najee's not everyone's favorite, but I think Jalen Warren has a lot of talent. I believe their O-line is decent. I'm definitely afraid of TJ Watt. I'm scared of Patrick Queen, their acquisition from, we just mentioned it, the Ravens. Mika Fitzpatrick, being their safety, Joey Porter Jr. I think their defense wins them this game. I think it's going to be like a 16-13 type game. I think it's going to be really hard for us to slow them down, especially if our run defense isn't up to top half in the league. It's going to be really hard to stop them because I think that's what they're going to do the entire time, and I think their defense is going to give us trouble. So I'm marking us down as the fourth loss of the season right there.
All right, going on to the next week, we've got Washington at Washington. I know we talked about this briefly. I still have this as a W. What are your thoughts?
I think we win this one. I think that our loss early in the season to them just only motivates us to go in there and actually beat them. I think that we learned from what Jaden Daniels tore us apart up earlier in the year, and I think we're able to go in there on a Sunday afternoon and beat them decisively.
All right, fair enough. And then moving on to the next one, another one that we've already briefly talked about, at home versus Dallas. I have this one going down as a loss, depending on where each team is at in the season. Record-wise, playoff picture-wise, I think that can make a big difference going into this game. But I think it's unfair of me to expect a sweep from the Eagles with Dallas. I would love to see it. I think it's very possible, but again, unfair. So I think I'm going to go with a loss here.
Yeah, I have 12 wins going into this game. I think we're 12-4 going into this Dallas game. I think that if the Cowboys have 9 wins, I think this is the type of thing where we kind of look ahead thinking that we won, looking a little bit past them. At home, I know it's Dallas week, and you can't really overlook that, but I think we kind of get a little bit too high on ourselves. I don't want us to. I think this is just Dallas's revenge and trying to knock us down and make a wild card spot, and I think they're going to be more hungry than us, honestly, in this game. If like you kind of said, you kind of alluded to it, where the standings would be, I think there's going to be more hungry in this game. I think it's going to be like a depressing, like annoying type loss where we just unable to hang on to the ball, a couple turnovers the ball doesn't go our way. And I think we do lose this game.
All right. So going into the last game, you've got us at 11-5. I've got us at 12-4. So lastly, we've got the Giants again, and another one we briefly talked about. I don't see us losing to this team. The only chance is that we don't have our starters playing and, our backups play terrible. And even in that regard, I think our backups are borderline better than they are. So I've got another win here.
I got a win here. I think we're going to be playing for playoff seeding at this point. I think the NFC is just too stacked with the Lions and Niners at the top. I mean, who knows who's going to make a run, and with the Rams make a run, Seahawks or even like the Bears, or like a lot of teams are wide open this year that are very interesting. I think this is going to be we're going to be fighting for the top seed, and I think we're going to have to kill the Giants again at home, and it's going to be a nice way to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that all being said, finally, our final roster predictions. I've got us going 13-4, and Maslij has us going 12-5. Then we'll have to see, both of us obviously have them going down as playoff contenders. So we're going to get to see how they go. And it's going to be exciting to get to see the season go. And hopefully I'm right more so than you. But it's going to be an interesting season to watch this year, man. That's for sure. I'm excited about it.
Hey, man, I hope we go 17-0. I don't like. We just have these losses. We're just predicting things, and it's going to change week to week. Even our week predictions are going to be a little different each week. So you got to tune in for that. We're going to try to do this we're going to get it out early in the week. We're trying to aim for, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday to try to at least do it, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this week, Friday night, and let's get it.
Season starts Friday in Brazil against Green Bay. So we're excited to see that. We're excited to see how this team comes out. And we'll get a gauge on how the season's going to look going off of that. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. As always, we always appreciate you. If you're watching, please feel free to like this video and subscribe. We very much appreciate it. It does us a lot of favors. So thank you for that if you have done that before or continue to do that. And please feel free to tune back in next week because we're going to be coming back with weekly episodes talking about breaking down games, breaking down plays, players, and talking about our expectations each week. So once again, thank you, and we appreciate it. And for the start of the season, let's go Birds.